No, I'm just making, I'm cleaning up a little bit for there.
Friends that work down there.
Everything's gotta be done now.
So I just want to let you
I thought he was on Colonial Road.
That could be too.
That's me.
Sorry, George.
Okay.
Did you forget to tell us?
Oh, I thought, no, he did say that at the end of the last meeting. He did say, yeah. Yeah, he was talking about, he went to North Carolina. It's his actual first time he and his wife have just gone on vacation in years.
I've got
Yes.
7 o'clock on the dot.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right.
Let's do it.
Probably an engineer on one of the plans. That's the guy in the green shirt's an engineer on one of the plans.
Okay, how did I miss this?
Looking for Mr. Trish. He won't be here until 10 after.
How did I miss that? I'm still on the old, go back.
So,
It's October, I thought it'd be,
hit the refresh button.
I think it's this.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the, oh, go ahead, George. I
Same thing.
was ready to hop right ahead.
I'm sorry, board members, I forgot myself. It's a business meeting. I'll summarize the business meeting agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's George Wolf. I'm Lower Paxton Township's manager, and tonight the Board of Supervisors will act on several items of old business as well as new business. Under old business, there is action to appoint Bradley Gutshaw as Lower Paxton Township manager, as I will be retiring. Then there is presentation by representatives from PennDOT regarding improvements under design for the intersection of Nye Road and Devonshire Heights Road. That will be followed by a resolution authorizing the submission of a traffic signal permit application to PennDOT for the intersection of Nye and Devonshire Heights Road. And then there is an amendment, resolution authorizing an amendment to the Articles of Incorporation to Lower Paxton Township Authority to add stormwater as a purpose for business for the authority. Under new business, we have a resolution authorizing the submission to Penvest of a request for funds for improvement to the sanitary sewer system. Then under subdivision and land development, we have a resolution accepting the dedication of streets in Tuscan Villas, a resolution accepting portions of Union Tunnel Drive in Station Square. Then we have the preliminary final land development plan for Meadowview Village at 4801 Union Deposit Road. And we have the preliminary final land development plan for a dental office for S.J. Grader LLC at 4129 Locust Lane. Ladies and gentlemen, that completes my summary of tonight's business meeting agenda. The supervisors are at the podium and ready to conduct business.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. We'll call this meeting of the Lower Paxton Township Board of Supervisors to order. We're going to stand now for the pledge, and then I'd like to ask everyone to remain standing. We want to take a moment of silence. Our community suffered another tragic loss here this past week with the passing of Mark Gaspich, who was a longtime volunteer firefighter in Linglestown, as well as formerly worked with the Sheriff's Department and the State Department of Corrections, a young man who passed away, and we want to honor Mark's service to Lower Paxton Township after the pledge with a moment of silence. So if we could now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Chrisman.
Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We could now have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. We will now proceed to approval of minutes from the meeting of May 8th, 2018. Would anyone like to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of May the 8th, 2018, please.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Before we have public comment, I won't announce that we had an executive session prior to this meeting because we did not. For those of you who were here earlier, the Sewer Authority met. The board will be meeting following this meeting to discuss, actually probably to really talk about some scheduling matters. With that, is there any public comment on an item that is not on the agenda tonight? Would any member, yes ma'am, please come to the podium and give us your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer.
That's okay.
Just not touch it. I'm short. Thank you. I'm sorry. My name is Jennifer Mugio. I live at 2113 Sycamore Drive in Harrisburg. I'm here this evening. I actually called in earlier this morning. I was out for a walk with my two young children and my nephew. It's at the intersection of Woodview and Winthrop, as well as Avon and Winthrop. There's two stop signs, and I was going across the street with my children, and, you know, to teach them safety, we looked left, we looked right 3 times. I was a preschool teacher for 15 years, so safety is, you know, my number one priority. And we joined hands to cross the street, and there was a young man, he came flying out of nowhere up the street, and I had to, like, basically run. He looked up at the last moment. Sorry, I'm getting upset.
No, that's
It just was very scary, and I've addressed this. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
I've been
Just
upset
take your
about this
time.
today. It just, I feel like there should be another stop sign there, and I've called in. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
Like 2 years ago, I called in, just having lived there, new with my husband, and just was like, why aren't there 2 stop signs here? I know there's studies and other things, you know, to take into consideration, but just coming from a mother and, you know, safety, my kids are going to be out on the street one day by themselves, and I just really feel like there should be 2 stop signs, or, you know, a 4-way intersection. I mean, it was very scary. You know, nowadays, people are constantly on their cell phones, and thank God he had his eyes on the road and stopped. I mean, we were literally in the middle of the intersection, and I had to cross the street, and he kept on going. He didn't even, you know, open up the window to apologize or see if we were okay. And so I'm just here to see if anything, you know, it's just very scary as a parent, if anything can be done, you know, as far as putting stop signs in at the 2 locations that I mentioned.
Is it currently a 2-way stop?
It's a 2-way on both sides of the circle. And the other thing to be known, my husband and I have lived there for 6 years. We have very nice neighbors, and they're elderly, but I mean, if I had $1 for every time one of them has said, it's so refreshing, it's so nice that there's just so many more families coming into the community. I mean, I personally, like I said, I stay at home with my children, and there's a lot of other mothers in our neighborhood. There's like 10 or 12 families that have just moved in the past 2 years. So, I mean, the kids are small, you know, they're growing up. Before you know it, they'll be out for bike rides and all sorts of stuff. But it just, it's scary. I mean, just to look at it and why isn't there stop signs there? It just seems like common sense. And yeah, that's pretty much what I'd like to say. So I don't know, you know, what can be done or what the process is to understand, you know, where to go from here.
Well, you don't have to go any place from here. We'll ask that a traffic study be performed by an officer in our Lower Paxton Township Police Department. I can expect, though, that this intersection has been studied in the past, and warrants probably weren't met at that time, and if conditions haven't changed, it's most likely that warrants for a multi-way stop won't exist today. Lower Paxton Township does not have the legal authority to post stop signs just because they believe they're necessary. there are specific criteria that have to be met, and I used to remember what they were. I lost that memory. But suffice it to say, if the criteria isn't there, we do not have the legal authority to post the signs. Also, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices specifically states in one of its pages that you cannot use stop signs as a speed control device. With that being said, I'll certainly ask the police department to conduct a traffic study, and we can certainly let you know what the results of that study are.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Could that study, George, also perhaps look at and maybe recommend some traffic calming strategies? That if we can't put in a stop sign, there might be some other steps we can take to maybe slow the traffic down?
We can. I get hesitant to suggest traffic calming, though, because if I'm recalling the location correctly, the traffic volume is so light in that area that it probably won't meet any traffic calming criteria. But we will certainly, if there's something other than a stop sign that can address the issue that comes to our mind, we'll certainly look at that as well.
Okay. One more thing, just to share, everyone, you've different walks in life, different experiences, and it was somebody else I also spoke today on the phone at the township building here, and basically what he was getting at is it takes like an accident before somebody, like before they'll put a stop sign in or a traffic light, like no, you're saying?
No. Well,
That's part of the criteria.
Part of the criteria?
Yeah, if the intersection has a record of a significant number of crashes, yes, Mr. Zumas brings up a good point. But really, it's traffic counts. And PennDOT has a set of criteria. And as Mr. Wolf said, we can't override.
Yeah.
Because
it's traffic counts, sight distance, other factors that are part of the geometry of the intersection. Again, I used to remember them, I don't, but I can tell you that somebody who knows them better than I will look at the intersection and make a determination. But if the warrants aren't there, any traffic control device we put up is not enforceable. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
we will certainly look into it. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Would any other member of the public like to address the board on a matter not on the agenda tonight? Would any other member of the public like to address the board on an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move to chairman and board member comments. Would any of our board members like to make a comment?
I have a couple comments. I just wanted to keep the victims of the tragic accident that we had on Interstate 83 Friday night. If you could please keep them in your prayers. There were 3 people that were killed that night. Last night I represented the board at the Council of Governments. Good news, the salt price this year is down to $59.14. Last year it was $59.99. We had Steve Deck at the Council of Governments. He is the Harrisburg Area Transportation Study, and he talked about submitting plans for road improvement. Also, Representative Frank Ryan was there, and he talked about unfunded mandates for municipalities. He talked about bills in the House to pay down the pensions. He said the Commonwealth is not in good shape, and he said the 2019 budget could be very, very difficult. So that was it.
Do we have any other board members who would like? Mr. Chrisman reminds me that we have, of course, we typically meet the first 3 Tuesdays of every month, and I believe it's the first Tuesday of November is Election Day, and the board not wanting to meet on Election Day, we will meet on Wednesday that week, and I don't have in front of me. Gary, I see you have a calendar there.
The 7th.
The 7th?
It'd be Wednesday the 7th.
Wednesday the 7th would be the first board meeting then in the month of November rather than Tuesday the 6th. So anybody who plans to attend, come on Wednesday because nobody will be here on Tuesday. Yeah. And editorial comments. Any other board member comments? Okay, with that, the manager's report.
Board members, just some community interest items this evening. Of course, Lower Paxton Township and most of Dauphin County municipalities recognize and observe Trick or Treat, which will be next Thursday. Is that October 25th? That's next Thursday.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Trick or Treat is from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Our public safety service providers, police, fire, Colonial Park, Lingelstown, Paxtonia, as well as South Central EMS will be present in the community. We certainly ask that parents accompany their children and that they observe standard protocol, only trick-or-treat at homes where their house light is on. If the house light is off, leave those property owners and residents alone. So next Thursday, trick-or-treat in Lower Paxton Township, October 25th. And then Lower Paxton Township's Fall Festival, which will include an element of trick-or-treat, will be held on Saturday, November 3rd from beginning at 4:30 p.m. in George Park off of Nye Road. The event will include a children's parade in costume, so if you have Halloween costumes for trick-or-treat, you can put them on again for the Fall Festival and attend and participate in a parade on George Park Drive within the park. There will be no parading on public streets. It will all be contained within the park itself. There will be entertainment, food trucks, and hay rides and pumpkin carving. So again, the Fall Festival in Lower Paxton Township, first time event, Saturday, November 3rd at 4:30 p.m. And then finally, board members, I would like to point out that instead of eating your Halloween candy, if you would like to get a free workout at the Township's Friendship Center, you can do so on October 26th, which is the day after Trick or Treat. If you bring a bag of candy to the Friendship Center, you will get a free workout. That's my items for this evening, board members.
Mr. Wolf, I just had a couple phone calls. Residents want to know what time the parade will be on November the 3rd for the costumes.
We'll let Leanne answer that.
And she knows to come to the
As
podium.
Leanne comes up real quick on the Friendship Center candy, do you have to work out the day after, or is it just
That's just on that day.
okay?
So you bring the candy, instead of eating it on Halloween evening, you bring the candy to the center the next day and you get a workout.
For that day only?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't
the
I
day you
read
take
where if you're already a member, you get a pass?
Yes.
Then the pass can be used at any
Well,
time.
that works too, yes.
So
You just found a workaround around the system real quick.
Right. So gather
Work
your,
around a workout. Okay.
That's
it.
get your candy on the 25th and turn it in on the 26th.
Yes, get your pass.
Ms. Urban.
Registration for the parade is at 4:30 and the parade will begin at 5 p.m.
Okay, can we maybe get that out on Facebook, website? Because, I mean, everything's on there about, but it doesn't say what time for the kids for the costumes. Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Lindsay, you had raised the issue of the hay rides. What was the outcome of that?
The hay rides are going to be free this year. Community Engagement Committee is donating the money. So thank you so much. Jeff, thank you for your efforts. So we really appreciate it this year. So we are in the need of another hay wagon. If anybody knows of anybody that would like to donate a hay wagon, so if you know of anybody, you could contact Parks and Recreation at the Friendship Center. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was in receipt of a document relating to the Route 39 743 study that's been in the mill for quite a while. HRG is our engineering firm that has put this together. They've asked that we spread the word. There will be a public meeting on December 3rd from 6 to 8 p.m. here at the Lower Paxton Township Municipal Building. The meeting will include a presentation. It'll be a question and answer session, the public input from those in attendance. They're going to include a land use projections and draft transportation recommendations. So most of you are aware of the increased traffic that has occurred along that Route 39 743 corridor, and this is the plan that's available to present to the public. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you. Mr. Wolf?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I did forget one item. We do have our stormwater public meetings for residential property owners on the 29th and 30th of this month. The meetings will be held in this room beginning at 7 p.m. Both meetings will be televised. The meetings will be not run, but attended and participated in great length by our consulting firm, Raftellus Financial Corporation. Staff will be in attendance, and the purpose of this meeting is to explain the stormwater fee and obtain public input.
Very good.
Question, Mr. Wolf. If they're meeting here on the 30th, we also are meeting the 30th.
Our budget meeting begins at 5:30.
5:30. Okay, that's what I didn't have. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Wolf?
Nothing.
Any other board member comments before we head into old business here? Okay, then we will move into old business. Our first item tonight, as I think everybody probably knows by now, except George, George Wolf retired at the end of May. And we have been working since that time, doing many, many interviews, and are ready to take action on appointing a township manager. So with that, Bradley Gottschall, who is here with us this evening with his wife and young daughter, is our candidate. And is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I will move to appoint Bradley Gottschall, a young, competent, energetic, forward-thinking administrator to serve as our township manager.
Is there a second to Mr. Chrisman's motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second Mr. Chrisman's motion. After reviewing numerous resumes and after conducting multiple interviews, I firmly believe that Mr. Gottschall has demonstrated the commitment, the positive attitude, strong desire, and the education to continue what Mr. Wolf has admirably created for Lower Paxton Township as our manager. And I look forward to working and supporting Mr. Gottschall for years to come.
It has been moved and seconded that we appoint Bradley Gottschall as township manager. Any board member comments?
I would like to make a comment. Tonight our board is voting on who will be the face of Lower Paxton Township as the township manager. We will be we have been very fortunate to have the township led by George Wolf for the past 28 years. Mr. Wolf came to us with years of experience. The job description of township manager says should have a minimum of 5 years experience. Our board has worked tirelessly for the past 6 months finding the right person to fill this leadership position. We should not fill the position just to fill it. As a lifelong resident of Lower Paxton Township, I feel the residents' employees deserve a manager with the required years of experience. I just want to let the board know that I will be voting no on this tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Lindsay. Are there any other board member comments?
Just obviously, we're going to hear down the road a lot about big shoes having to be filled, and might as well get that started tonight. But it'll be, I think, incumbent upon all of us with the township to do everything we can to make the next few years successful, just as they have been for the last nearly 30 years. And I think everyone's going to be committed to that.
Thank you. My comments are to tell you a little bit about Bradley Gottschall. He is here, and we'll hear from him in a few minutes. Bradley was, at the age of 18, elected to Borough Council in Frackville, which is in Schuylkill County, just to the north of us. Served for 7 years there. He spent time working in the district attorney's office in Schuylkill County and interned for State Senator David Argel. Went on to be the borough manager in Indiana, Pennsylvania, and is currently the borough manager in Millersville in Lancaster County. So he has a fairly broad experience in a number of areas. We are very pleased to have somebody come on board who we think is going to be with us for a long period of time. One of the things I heard over the last, 6 months that we have spent determining who we're going to hire as manager, and I heard it particularly from the business community, was that there was a feeling that Lower Paxton Township has been extremely well managed over the past, 28 years or longer, both in terms of our manager and staff, as well as the members of the Board of Supervisors. But there was a need to understand that our community is changing, and changing rapidly. We are changing in terms of the composition of our residents. We face many challenges when it comes to economic development because of the change in the retail climate. Particularly, we have a large mall and other big box stores. Of course, we've already had Bon-Ton leave. Our Sears, fortunately, survived the cut this week. But we face challenging economic development climate. The way we communicate has changed. We hired a communications director, at the end of last year, early this year, because the way we communicate has gone beyond simply the printed page to many electronic means. So the choice before us was, do we get somebody sort of maybe who's toward the end of their career and set in their ways, or do we bring a manager in who is going to work with our top line managers to be innovative and entrepreneurial and move our township forward? And I think particularly choosing a manager of the millennial generation sends a message to those in our township who are in their 20s and 30s that your time has come. And Brad, I hope that one thing that happens with you being manager is that others in the 20 and 30-year-old age group who maybe so far haven't gotten involved as volunteer firemen, or maybe have not joined a service club like Rotary, Lions, or Kiwanis, or gotten involved in the social activities of their church, will now see that it's time to do that, and that hopefully this will spawn a whole new generation to become involved in the governance and the life of our community. So I think that this is a decision that positions us for the future, and I'm very pleased to support your appointment as township manager. With that, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 No.
Anybody opposed?
No.
Let the record show a vote of 4-1. And Bradley, before you come up, once again, a word of thanks and appreciation to George Wolf, who actually, as I mentioned, did retire in May and has stuck in with us through a process that went on far longer than we ever anticipated. The timeline, when did you actually tell us you were retiring? It was like, what, March?
Yeah,
April?
it was beginning of March, yes.
Beginning of March. So we began the process. We sadly suffered the loss of our friend and colleague, Mr. Hawk. That sort of knocked us off stride for a while, and then we got back down to business. And George, you've stuck with us far longer than I'm sure you ever planned to, and thank you very much for doing that.
Well, and thank you, board members. It's been a pleasure, as it always has, working for you.
And now, Mr. Gottschall, if you would like to come to the podium and just, to the degree that I haven't taken all your thunder, tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce us to those in the audience who are here with you tonight.
Can we say real quick, what's the timeline for the transition?
You will begin work with the 1st of November? November 5th. Okay. Please come to the podium.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I have a...
There you go.
I am very much blessed and very excited to be here tonight with you all, with Adeline, my daughter, and Katie, my wife, out in the audience there. They took the trip with me from Lancaster this evening, where we currently live. And hi. Members of the board and members of Lower Paxton Township, I'm very much honored to be now I can officially say the manager of Lower Paxton Township, a very progressive, very forward-thinking, and very rapidly growing township here in Dauphin County. I have to tell no one here what position the township is in and where it will be headed in the next few years, and for which I am very much excited to be a part of it. Mr. Henry gave me the opportunity to tell a little bit about my story in a brief way, and over the next few years I hope to share more about myself and also sharing the story of Lower Paxton Township as well. Earlier today, this afternoon, I got a chance to meet with members of the Lower Paxton staff, and I'm thoroughly impressed by the level of knowledge they have shown to me in their particular areas. And it's no secret to me that they have been here for a number of years and know exactly what they're doing in their particular field. So, come November 5th, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll hit the ground running, and we'll keep this township moving in a positive direction. So, members of the board, I appreciate your confidence and the opportunity to serve the township and the township residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Bradley, and welcome. Well, we are pleased to have a new manager, and so now we will carry on with some business matters that we have to take care of this evening. And we are going to have a presentation from PennDOT. We have some improvements finally coming to Nye Road and Devonshire Heights Road. As one who lives a block away from there, I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. So if you could.
Yes, board members, with us this evening is David. I'm going to screw your name up, David.
Fertangeli.
Thank you. I can barely spell it. So.
It always happens.
Yeah. And board members, you're well aware of the intersection. You're well aware that PennDOT has been working to design improvements to the intersection, which will include signalization. And David is here to tell us basically where the plan stands. And I'm sorry, Dave. It's I'm going to have to. I'm dealing with a computer that's frozen. Maybe you can start and I'll continue to click.
Yes. It's been, I'd say, a year and a half since I've been here last to present this project. I'm back here again to give you guys an update of where we are in the project development process. The project is currently in final design. We're anticipating letting it midsummer of 2019. And I'll do a quick overview of the improvements again for everyone. As you're aware, this is a complicated intersection. So what we're going to do is realign Nye Road vertically and horizontally, as well as Devonshire Heights. We're going to realign that road as well. Actually, the center of the intersection is probably going to come up about 2.5 feet. So I kind of like to explain to people where the existing guy road is today to the top of that. That's where the new roadway is going to be. We are replacing the large culvert underneath Nye Road. That's going to be an actual reinforced concrete pipe now. We are installing a concrete pipe underneath the relocated driveway in parcel 8. We're also realigning another driveway that's parcel, I believe, 1 over there in the southwest quadrant. We're going to have ADA accommodations at the intersection, but the biggest improvement is going to be a new traffic signal there with dedicated left turn lanes, and that's going to help tremendously in that intersection. So what everybody's asking is, how are we going to build this? What's traffic going to look like? Construction, that whole deal. It's a pretty complicated staging process that we're going through, and really trying to nail it down to not to make it, more not. I don't know how to say.
As less disruptive as possible.
Perfectly, yes. We did meet with the school recently to discuss our thoughts on traffic control and how we're going to build it, as well as George. But it looks like if we're anticipating a midsummer, July, August letting, that means the fall they'll do the offline improvements. Southeast quadrant, you'll see the tree trimming, benching, because we're going to be shifting the roadway alignment over, that kind of stuff that won't impact the traveling public. What's going to happen is probably April 2020, around there, we're planning on, as of right now, Devonshire detouring that road. Work on Devonshire, and then about a month later, shut down Nye Road as well and detour both roads, and then have everything open prior to the start of the school year. when discussing with the school, they rather us impact their schedule at the end of the school year versus the beginning. And we're trying not to get aggressive with the schedule as well, because then if you have a summer like we did this year with a lot of rain, that kind of impacts, and then you may not get your deadline completed that you wanted to.
David,
I guess
well,
with that,
well, most of, or I shouldn't say most of them, well, all of the residents in that area, they'll be notified ahead of time, what's going to be happening, when the road will be shut down, the detours.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a notification, message boards, that kind of deal. We're currently working on a detour plan, that kind of stuff, in which we would definitely share with Lower Paxton Township.
Because I'm thinking if it's going to be coming through Windmere, we're going to have some unhappy residents.
Well, board members, that's part of the problem that you'll experience with this. We have actually closed Devonshire Nyes Road at this location north, probably 15, 20 years ago in that section, and this is just a god awful detour. PennDOT will not use municipal roads for detour. They'll detour on state routes.
Right.
And your state route detours for this are significantly far away. Locals are going to
create their own.
Right.
They're going to know which way to go because they did it before.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I was born and raised out there, and this is long overdue. Long overdue.
We agree. Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of the last piece of Nyes Road, I'd say, that needs improved.
Will this plan, as you're traveling north on Nyes Road and you're heading into the intersection with Devonshire Heights Road, there's a significant rise that really creates a sight distance issue.
Yes, at Highlands.
Yes, right
Yeah,
by Highlands. Will that be?
That's going to be reduced. It's going to be lowered.
It's
We're also
gonna be
going to put
lowered.
flashing warning device further south to indicate as far as the signal is up ahead.
That's very, very hazardous right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know I had asked the question a long time ago, what are most of the accidents? And you would think they would be trying to get across, but I was told they're mostly rear-enders because of both areas, the sight distance. So I think it's good that you'll be putting the flashing lights there.
Yeah.
David, if I missed it while I was trying to reestablish communication with my computer, and you've already said it, I apologize, but do you have a project cost estimate at this point?
Yeah, the construction is about $2.7 million.
Wow.
Mm.
There's a lot going on in Lower Paxton Township right now. 22, and then we'll have that. So, yeah.
We're hoping to have everything, like I said, the roadway open, completed by the start of the school year. So,
David, I
some
missed
inconvenience for a short time period, but
I heard, but I didn't process the date that the work will commence.
we're
On or about.
We're targeting a summer 2019 let. So then that means fall of 2019 is when.
Okay, it will commence summer of 2019.
Yes.
Therefore, as we get closer, I'd like to respectfully request that you come back and give us an update with regard to when it will occur and if any changes are occurring. If you would,
Yes.
I would appreciate that if you would do that, because as you're doing this tonight, you're being televised, so our community is seeing and hearing you. So I think it's another way of just alerting our community that this change will occur. And by coming back again, at least it gives everyone an update. And again, we're being right up front, sharing everything as much information as we possibly can with our community. So I thank you for that.
Yep.
Well, this can't come soon enough. I'm just amazed that there hasn't been more serious accidents at that intersection, especially given the sight distance.
I think a lot of people avoid that intersection as much
Exactly,
as possible.
just for the site issue itself.
And that 2.7 million, is that all township?
No, that's federal funding.
That is
all federal.
funding.
Oh, good.
We have nothing, we have no,
No, we do not.
No, I avoid the
Except to say,
intersection.
thank you.
I go down and make a turn onto Old Farm rather than turn there because people come over that hill too fast.
Yes.
And if you get 3 or 4 cars stacked, there's no time, if they're going too fast, for people to react.
I was very glad to hear him say that was going to be lowered so that there is some better vision.
Oh, by far. Very good.
Yep.
Any other board member questions? Any public questions, comments? Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board members, David, you may want to stay for the next item of business. It's the traffic signal permit.
Resolution 1851. This would authorize submission of a traffic signal permit to PennDOT for the intersection of Nye and Devonshire Heights Road. Well, that's part of it, right?
Yes, board members, for the actual installation to take place, Lower Paxton Township has to agree to accept the ownership and maintenance of the traffic signal once it's installed. This application will do so. Although it's a rarity to act on traffic signal permit applications, this is actually the third application or resolution and application that you've acted upon in the last 4 weeks for a new signal installation, and you've acted on modifications to another 4 as well in that 6-week period. So we're doing a lot of traffic signal work right now. Of course, this is complete for your action this evening.
If we don't accept, will PennDOT just continue to take care of it and monitor it and repair? And that was a rhetorical question.
Yeah, that's
David.
not how it works.
Started.
No.
I just thought I would. I thought I'd try.
Good try, though.
Yeah, yes. It was
I
worth
get an A
shot.
for effort. You ready?
Questions or comments from the board? Any public questions or comments? Then we are ready for a motion on Resolution 18-51.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-51, which authorizes the submission of the traffic signal permit application to PennDOT for the intersection of Nye and Devonshire Heights Road. That's presented by Mr. Wolf.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the next item of business does not involve PennDOT. However, I see William R. Weaver in front of us here.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to, not that Bill isn't more than capable, but I'm going to do the articles of incorporation just because I already presented them to you at the workshop meeting.
Bill, you look disappointed.
Yes, board members, you saw these articles of incorporation in draft form at last workshop meeting. Since that point in time, Mr. Stein has done a detailed review, made some minor amendments, and they are complete for your action at this meeting this evening. Of course, this resolution authorizes the Lower Paxton Township Authority to apply for an amendment of its articles of incorporation to undertake stormwater activities and water quality activities. And the authority acted on a companion resolution at its business meeting prior to this meeting. Once both bodies have acted, the Township Solicitor, Authority Solicitor, will file the amendment to the Articles of Incorporation, and we will begin the process.
Any board member questions or comments?
That's straightforward.
Any public questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve Resolution 18-49?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-49, amending the Articles of Incorporation of the Lower Paxton Township Authority to a stormwater as a purpose.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Good.
Second by Mr. Zumas. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you. We'll move on to new business where we have, working our way down in number here. Resolution 1848, which authorizes submission of an application to PennVest, and we're requesting funds for improvement to our sanitary sewer conveyance systems. Now, Mr. Weaver.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This resolution is going to authorize the submission of a financial assistance application to PennVest for the Sewer Authority's upcoming project in BC2 that we just talked about earlier at the authority meeting. That project is just north and south of Blue Ridge Avenue, and then east and west it goes from Mountain Road all the way to the township line. So the township has a management agreement with the authority to operate the sewer authority, and also, as the board is aware, as part of that, the township does incur the debt, and through a subsidy agreement, the authority pays the township back. So this application, fortunately, was generated because PennVest did reach out to us and told us that they do have a revolving fund, a significant amount of money, over $500 million currently, that's available What they do is they post the rates on their webpage for Dauphin County. The current rate is about 0.5% less than the T-bill, so this rate should be somewhere around 2%. We did talk to the township and the authority when we started preparing our budgets. The board did authorize us to proceed. The engineer has this resolution and the letter of responsibility ready for board action. The amount will be $11,417,400. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Moving through this one.
Any comments? Any public question or comment? Do we have a motion then on Resolution 1848?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-48, authorizing the submission of the application to Penvest, requesting funds for the improvements to the sanitary sewer conveyance systems as presented by Mr. Weaver.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Lindsay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so passed. Now, under item B, we have subdivision and land development plans, Mrs. Zerby, and we have a number of these to act on this evening.
You do. The first one is the preliminary final land development plan for Meadowview Village, which the purpose of the plan is to memorialize the intent of Meadowview Village Condominium Association to not construct the paved walking paths that were shown on the previously approved and recorded Meadowview Village land development plans. In July of 1999, the board approved the final subdivision and land development plan for the development, and in December 2004, the board approved the revised final subdivision and land development plan. Both approved plans included walking paths in the limited common open space of the condominium. The homeowners of Meadowview Village have come before the board several times over the past few years to request the walking paths to be removed. This plan, if approved, will be recorded to show that the walking path is no longer required as previously approved. The plan was approved at the October 3rd, 2018 Planning Commission, and the applicant is requesting one waiver, which is the waiver to provide a preliminary plan, which if the language is changed on the plan, that waiver is not required. And Mr. Jeff Staub is here to answer any questions.
Just a point of clarification for the board. And also, it's really the third bullet under subdivision and land development. I think we all went to the first one, and then when it was being presented, we did some scrambling here. So I think we're all on the same page. Thanks. That's okay.
We'll just start at the bottom, work our way up.
So
but we're actually starting in the middle.
So basically, we are removing the requirement for the walking trail.
That is correct.
Amanda, do they have to have a vote over a Meadowview for, like, does a certain percentage have to vote not to have the walking trail, or they just submit it? I didn't know if the residents had to have a certain percentage.
The residents did.
Okay, and they said no.
Yes, in fact.
They did not want the walking path.
Yes, and they did that some time ago. It's probably been 18 months since that's
At
occurred.
least, yeah.
Okay.
Nope.
It probably sounded good when they first went there.
Yeah.
I'm Linda Halsey from 172 Meadowview Drive in Meadowview Village, president of the Homeowners Association. And I was just going to respond to the question about the vote. And that had been done many years ago.
Okay.
So the Homeowners Association does not want the walking trail?
No.
Okay.
This whole issue revolves around the fact that we still have paving that needs done, and the removal of the walking path and a retaining wall needed to be taken care of before the developer will do final paving of a portion of Meadowview Drive.
Please understand there's nothing in this request in regard to the retaining wall that
Correct.
I'm aware of. This is just the walking path at this point.
That's correct.
Okay. Anything else?
Not for me.
Not for you. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody have any questions? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion that we approve the preliminary final land development plan for Meadowview Village. And we're approving the entire plan as opposed to an amendment to the plan?
It would be, this is actually, it's an amendment to the preliminary.
It's an amendment to,
yes.
Amendment to the plan.
This is an amendment.
Correct.
Okay,
Nothing else changes other than the walking path comes off.
Okay, because my question would have been under the general comments. There are comments from Andrew Baumberger, and I just want to make sure that they've all been addressed. And if this is just an amendment dealing with this particular issue only, then it makes it straightforward in as much as they don't need the waiver request.
Yes, Jeff.
So I'm, okay.
Good evening, board members. I'm Jeff Staub with Dolphin Engineering. And number one, we are going to make the text change on the plan so we don't need the waiver for preliminary plan requirement to be acted on. And the other issue was, the walking path is going to be, the removal of the walking path is going to be memorialized by, the recording of this document that you're acting upon tonight. I'm not sure what other question you had, Gary, but.
I'm just not. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, part one, I understand that we're approving the preliminary and final land development. That's for me the first part. And with regard to the waiver request, in part, I understand the original plan had the walking paths in limited common open spaces, and yet in our waiver request, the applicant's requesting the waiver. Staff is saying it's not necessary. So, for me, it's. Thus far, the only thing we have to approve is the preliminary final subdivision plan. But when we're normally doing that, then I like to always ask and make sure there's a commitment for the administrative comments and the general comments. I just want to make sure that those also have, and normally I go through my typical questions. So if this is an amendment, then we've already done that. And if not, I need to do that. So which am I choice A or choice B here?
This is an amendment. There's no other changes.
So there are no other changes. Okay, then all we have to do is approve the preliminary and final subdivision plan. With that understanding, Mr. Chairman, I'll move approval. If that helps.
Sort of.
There were no comments by HRG because
Okay.
it was just there was nothing for them to there was nothing for them to review.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So well, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
So the end result of this is simply to remove from the plan the requirement for the walking trail. It does nothing else.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any additional board questions or comments?
But it's a requirement to not pave the walking trail.
To not install the
Not to
walking
install
trail.
it.
Not to
So
install
be
it.
there at all.
Are we simply withdrawing the request for
Yes.
the waiver because staff is saying it wasn't necessary anyway? That's why I guess I'm a little confused. But we still have to approve the preliminary and final land development because we have not done so.
Correct.
Okay, got it. That's my motion.
Okay.
I heard a second.
I heard a second, yes. Okay, I understand what we're doing. I'm not quite sure the mechanism is precise, but we'll go by board intent here. With that, is there any public comment, any additional? All in favor of approving the preliminary and final land development plan for Meadowview Village at 4801 Union Deposit Road, signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you. Okay, so where are we going to next?
We can do the resolution accepting portions of Union Tunnel Drive.
Okay, we can do that.
Which one are we doing?
The second item on the list.
The second one,
To
1852.
the second one, right.
Okay.
So 1852 is to dedicate Union Tunnel Drive and Shadebrook subdivision to the township. The road to be dedicated has been inspected by HRG and staff to ensure it's ready for acceptance, and staff recommends acceptance of Union Tunnel Drive.
That one's rather straightforward, Mr. Chairman.
Would you like to make a motion?
Absolutely. I'll move approve resolution 2018-52 accepting the portions of Union Tunnel Drive as recommended by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Zumas. Any board member questions or comments?
Amanda?
Yes.
That's in the first phase, right?
It is,
Okay,
it's phase
and then
one.
we'll just be taking care of that, but not the alleys?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Any additional questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay,
Which
next.
one next?
Mr. Wolf, I think, is doing the accepting for the streets in Tuscan Villas.
Yes, board members, Tuscan Villas does not have a deed of dedication or maintenance bond or release of liens because Lower Paxton Township acted on the improvement guarantee posted by the developer and completed the improvements necessary to have the streets in Tuscan Villa become part of the public domain. As such, this resolution accepts the streets as the paving has been completed by the Public Works Department through the service of Pensy Supply on the township's roadway paving program for 2018, and this resolution is thus complete for your action this evening.
Good. I'm glad we're able to bring this one to closure. It's been going on for so long. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2018-50, accepting the dedication of streets in Tuscan Villas.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mrs. Lindsay. Any additional board member questions or comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to thank the gentleman that came last week, I think it was, from Tuscan Villas to thank us. So I think they're very appreciative of what we did out there. So, oh, you're sitting back there. Okay.
Yes.
But thank you anyhow
Thank
for
you.
for your comment. We really appreciated it. So
now the road's not only paved, but we're going to take care of it. So any public questions or comments? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And we have one more before we get to improvement case.
Okay, the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan for the dental office expansion for S.J. Grader LLC at 4129 Locust Lane proposes to consolidate two parcels, both owned by S.J. Grader, into a single building lot. The existing lot will be combined with the vacant lot to the west for a total combined lot size of 1.033 acres. The property is located in the R2 medium density residential district and will be served by public water and sewer. Site improvements will include the construction of a building addition to the office that will be approximately 1,900 square feet. The development will also include the construction of new parking areas, landscape amenities, and a stormwater management system. The applicant was granted a special exception to allow for the expansion of a non-conforming lot. The Planning Commission approved the plan on September 5th, 2018. There are 3 waiver requests for this plan. The first one is the request for a waiver for the requirement to provide sidewalk along the roadway frontages bordering the subdivision. Staff supports the waiver request as it appears that a portion of Locust Lane could potentially be hazardous to pedestrians due to traffic concerns. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement to provide curbing along the roadway frontages bordering a subdivision. Staff supports the waiver request. And the last waiver is the applicant is requesting a waiver of the requirement to provide all required perimeter parking lot landscaping. And this is for the west side of the lot only. Staff supports the partial waiver request as the site appears to be sufficiently landscaped as proposed.
And I just had a question on the sprinklers. Were they addressed? The fire marshal?
They'll be addressed in the building portion of the
Okay, because the fire
application.
marshal had a comment there.
Yeah, that will come. That is part of
Okay.
the Uniform Construction Code, so we don't
Okay.
look at that portion. The building code will look at that.
Great, thank you.
And this is Brandon Harner of Snyder, Sakari and Associates, and he will speak to this plan.
As Amanda mentioned, there's not a whole lot more to say. She pretty much nailed everything. I'll gladly answer any questions you have, but I won't belabor the point.
I have a series of questions for you.
Okay.
Do you have in front of you the same documents we do with the request for the preliminary and final subdivision plan approval?
I do.
Okay, excellent. The first 4 items, the variances were granted by the Zoning and Hearing Board. There are 3 other waiver requests. 2 of them, the first 2 the board supports, or the staff support. Number 3, it's a partial waiver request that the staff support. Are you in agreement with that?
We are.
Are you in agreement that you have either completed or will complete in a timely fashion acceptable to the staff the 4 administrative comments as presented.
Yes.
In the 4 general comments, same question, that you have either completed those or will complete them in a timely fashion acceptable to the township staff, including item number 4, where there are 22 comments from HRG signed by Jason Hines, that those have been completed or will be completed in a timely fashion acceptable to the township staff.
Not a problem. We will.
The answer is yes?
Yes.
And it's being recorded, that's why I'm asking the
Yes.
question, so there are no questions later on that said, no, we didn't agree to that.
Understood.
Okay. With that in mind, Mr. Chairman, if there are no other questions, I'll move that we approve the preliminary and final subdivision and land development plan for the dental office expansion for S.J. Grader LLC at 4129 Locust Lane, Plan 2018-23, with the 3 waiver requests, the 4 administrative comments, and the 4 general comments as outlined by staff.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Any additional questions or comments? Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
doing
sir.
your homework.
You have a mess there right now because I came that way tonight. A 5-minute trip took me 25 minutes. Oh my God, I feel bad for the patients there. It's what a mess. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Thank you for having all your ducks in line before you came here tonight.
That makes things move much more smoothly. We have improvement guarantees, too. Any questions about that? Greystone Public House and Hearthside East.
Unless, Mr. Wolf, they look rather straightforward. Is there anything special or unique about either of the release or the extension?
I would ask Mrs. Zerby that.
Oh.
There is not. They're
There is
very
none?
straightforward.
If there are none from staff, then, Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the 2 improvement guarantees as presented by Ms. Zerby.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that brings us to the payment of bills of Lower Paxton Township and the Lower Paxton Township Authority. Madam Treasurer.
Yes, I make a motion we pay the bills of Lower Paxton Township and Lower Paxton Township Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any announcements? Other than the next meeting, we're going to have a budget workshop on Tuesday, October 30th at 5:30 p.m. And as mentioned earlier in the meeting, our next business meeting will be on Wednesday, November 7th, rather than Tuesday, November 6th, which is Election Day. So we'll be the day after Election Day. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.